Before she became the monster with snakes for hair, before her gaze could turn men to stone, before Perseus severed her head and made himself a legend, Medusa was the most beautiful woman in the ancient world. And her transformation into a monster? It wasn't a punishment for her crimes. It was the gods' twisted response to her being violated in their sacred temple. This is the story they don't want you to know. In the age when gods walked among mortals, there lived a young woman named Medusa. Unlike her two immortal sisters, the Gorgons Stheno and Euryale, Medusa was born human, fragile, mortal, and breathtakingly beautiful. Her beauty wasn't just physical. Ancient texts describe her as graceful, intelligent, devoted. She had hair that cascaded like golden waterfalls, eyes that reflected the Aegean Sea, and a smile that could make even the cruelest hearts soften. But Medusa didn't seek attention. She sought purpose. And so she devoted herself to Athena, the virgin goddess of wisdom and war. She took a sacred vow of chastity and became a priestess in Athena's temple. For Medusa, this wasn't just duty, it was sanctuary. In Athena's temple, she wasn't just a beautiful face. She was a servant of wisdom, a keeper of sacred knowledge. She had finally found where she belonged. But beauty, especially a woman's beauty, has always been dangerous. And someone was watching her. Poseidon, god of the seas, lord of earthquakes, brother to Zeus himself. He saw Medusa in Athena's temple, and he wanted her. Not her consent, not her affection, just her. The ancient texts are disturbingly clear about what happened next. Ovid's Metamorphoses states it plainly. Poseidon raped Medusa on the floor of Athena's temple. Think about that for a moment. A god, an immortal being with infinite power, forced himself upon a mortal woman who had vowed herself to chastity and service. In the one place she should have been safe. In the one place that was supposed to be sacred. She couldn't fight back. She couldn't run. She couldn't even scream loud enough for help to come. Because who stops a god? But here's where the story becomes truly horrifying. When Athena, the goddess Medusa had devoted her life to, discovered what happened in her temple, she didn't punish Poseidon. She couldn't. He was a god, her uncle, too powerful to challenge directly. So instead, Athena punished the victim. Imagine Medusa's hope when Athena finally appeared. The goddess she'd served faithfully, the one who should protect her priestesses. Surely she would understand. Surely she would help. Instead, Athena transformed her. Her beautiful hair, the hair Poseidon had apparently admired, twisted and writhed, becoming venomous serpents that hissed with every breath. Her soft eyes that had wept in prayer and devotion, became weapons. Anyone who met her gaze would turn instantly to stone. Her smooth skin became scaled, her hands became claws, her beauty became monstrous. But here's what most people miss. Some scholars argue this wasn't just punishment, it was protection. Think about it. Medusa had been powerless, vulnerable, a beautiful woman in a world where powerful men took whatever they wanted. But now no man could ever touch her again. No one could even look at her without facing death. Athena couldn't undo what Poseidon had done. She couldn't punish him, but she could make sure Medusa would never be a victim again. The transformation was brutal, irreversible, isolating, but it made her untouchable. Medusa fled to the edges of the world, to a desolate island where no one would find her, where she could harm no one, where she lived with her immortal Gorgon sisters, the only beings who could look upon her without dying. Can you imagine her isolation? She had been a priestess who loved wisdom and learning. Now she was exiled, cut off from everything human. Every living thing that saw her face died. The statues that surrounded her cave, those weren't trophies. They were reminders. Each one had been a person, perhaps a lost traveler, perhaps a hunter, perhaps someone who'd heard rumors of a monster and came seeking glory. Each one had died simply by looking at her, and she had to live with that. Ancient sources describe her weeping, a monster with the memory of being human, a victim transformed into something everyone feared, when all she'd ever wanted was to serve the gods and live in peace. But the world doesn't remember her tears. It doesn't remember her trauma, her devotion, her humanity. It remembers Perseus, the hero who killed her. Perseus needed the head of a Gorgon to save his mother from a forced marriage. The gods equipped him with winged sandals, a mirrored shield, and Hades' helm of invisibility. They sent him to kill Medusa, not her immortal sisters, just her, the mortal one, the one who could actually die. He found her sleeping in her cave. This warrior, this hero, waited until she was unconscious and defenseless. Then he used Athena's shield, yes, the same goddess whose temple she'd been violated in, to see her reflection. He approached from behind, and he cut off her head. In some versions, Medusa's blood gave birth to Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a golden warrior. Her children by Poseidon, born from her death. Even in her final moment, she was still defined by what had been done to her. Perseus took her head and used it as a weapon. It retained its power even in death. He turned his enemies to stone, one by one, with the severed head of a woman who'd once just wanted to serve the gods. Eventually, he gave it to Athena, who mounted it on her shield. The goddess wore the face of her former priestess as armor. The woman who'd been violated in Athena's temple now served as her eternal guardian. For thousands of years, Medusa has been portrayed as a monster, a villain, a trophy for heroes to claim. But when you actually read the original sources, when you look past the propaganda of heroic legends, you see something different. You see a woman who was punished for being beautiful, who was violated in a sacred space, who was transformed without her consent, who lived in isolation because of what was done to her, not because of anything she'd done. And then, when she'd suffered enough, a hero killed her while she slept and called it brave. Today, Medusa has been reclaimed. Her image appears in feminist art, in survivor movements, in protests against sexual violence. Because her story isn't really about a monster, it's about what happens when the world refuses to hold powerful men accountable. It's about how victims become villains in their own stories. It's about how we erase women's pain and call it mythology. Medusa didn't ask to become a monster. She was made into one by forces she couldn't control. And even in her monstrosity, even with serpents for hair and a gaze that killed, she remained what she'd always been, a victim the world chose to forget. The question is, are we ready to finally remember her truth? The stories we tell about monsters say more about us than they do about the monsters themselves. If you want to hear more forgotten truths from ancient myths, the stories of those who were written out, silenced, or transformed into villains, subscribe and let me know in the comments which myth you want me to uncover next. Because every monster has a story, and most of them begin with someone else's crime.